What do you want?
Milk drinker.
What's a milk drinker like you doing out here? Go home to your mother.
Welcome to the Frozen Hearth. I just wrote in on my reindeer. Thanks, Creation Club. Now let's talk about holiday beverages in the Elder Scrolls and whip some up. This video's been a long time coming. I meant to make this video last year, but after an abysmal flu during the holidays, I no longer had the time to do so. If my beard and hair look a little bit different in this video versus the eggnog video, it's because I decided to film this in winter earlier this year, so if I got sick again during the holiday season, I wouldn't have an excuse to not have it completed. As always, please consider picking up a copy of the book for yourself at the link in the description. Beyond the Sweetnog recipe, we'll also be making an additional dairy-based recipe from the cookbook that is conveniently non-alcoholic, namely warm spiced milk. A recipe brought to Skyrim by the Khajiit caravans looking for a taste of home and some warmth in this unfamiliar frozen tundra. Like many of the other recipes in the cookbook, although not all of them, both beverages are not found in-game. I kinda wish they were added to the anniversary edition with the Saturalia and Rare Curios packs, but alas. Lastly, for the dairy averse, it has been requested multiple times that I make a non-dairy based eggnog. So with this video, we'll be whipping up a vegan recipe from Talviel's Kitchen, Moon Sugar Vegnog, using ingredients from both Khajiit and Nordic cultures. Actually, no. Hi. Shorter bearded Nick from the next video here, courtesy of some time-bending magics I learned from the Psijic monks while on the Isle of Artaeum. We're actually doing Talviel's recipe in its own video. While they would be great to compare in the same video, I wanted to taste her recipe 4 different ways and compare it to Coquito, a Puerto Rican egg-free spin on eggnog. Given that I have a habit of overcomplicating things on this channel and inevitably ramping up the editing time as a result, I made the executive decision to separate them in the name of conciseness and preservation of sanity. You'll be pleased to know that this is delicious, but I dare not say any more. I'd rather not initiate a dragon break over something so mundane as a holiday drink.
Take great care and know that the Order is watching.
I know. Okay, let's just go back to the future already.
It is imperative that you return at once.
Yeah, pass me. Carry on. Because the Sweetnog will take some additional time to prepare, let's lead with that particular concoction. According to the Elder Scrolls Cookbook, Sweetnog. This thick, boozy, protein-filled beverage is just the thing to welcome you in from the cold after a day of hard labor. It's a popular warming drink, especially at homesteads where flocks of chickens provide a constant source of eggs. A more enterprising adventurer might use pine thrush eggs, but they're harder to find. You will need 6 egg yolks, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of Nord spices, 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, a 1/2 cup of brandy, and 1 cup of whole milk.
Editing Nick here. Before we make the Sweetnog, let's talk about the Nord spices, as they come up in the next recipe as well. So it would probably be important for you to know what's in it. From the cookbook, this warming blend of spices brings to life any cold weather recipe that includes it. The warmth of the cardamom and cinnamon is balanced by the bite of mace, clove, and grains, making it a solid addition to desserts, baking, and hot drinks. You'll need 1.5 tablespoons of ground cardamom, 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground mace, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground grains of paradise. Mix together all of the ground ingredients, then store in a small airtight jar. Alright, back to the Sweetnog recipe.
Combine all ingredients in a medium bowl set over a pot of simmering water. Whisk gently for 5 to 10 minutes to cook the yolks and while the mixture thickens notably. The nog will thicken more as it chills, so if the mixture is too thick, add a little extra milk until you have the consistency you prefer. Pour into a glass bottle and let the nog cool before refrigerating. Chilled, it should keep for up to a week. Can be served room temperature or warm in small glasses. And here it is, the Elder Scrolls Cookbook's Sweetnog. Let's pour ourselves some. We'll garnish with just a touch of some additional Nord spices. Brandy is strong on the nose. Love it. I love that Armagnac. I'm running out and I can't find any more, so I'm a little worried about that.
Milk drinker.
That's nice. I'm filming this before my most recent eggnog experiment, although that video will have come out by now. So I can't really compare it to that. I can compare it to previous year's batches, in my head anyways. I remember what they taste like. And it is most in line with my second eggnog, where I used higher end spirits, because that batch ended up being a little more sweet and a little bit more complex and almost like had like a salty characteristic. This is like that, but more sweet and less salty, so it's extra sweet. I like it. It might be a little sweet for my particular preferences, but it's still really good and well worth making yourself. The Nord spices are lending a different dynamic than just the nutmeg on the traditional aged eggnog. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges here, but I still really dig both. That mace is, I almost think that the Nord spices could go even higher on the mace just to give it a little bit more pepperiness, but
Milk drinker.
the sweetened condensed milk is definitely doing a lot of the legwork, I guess in tandem with the egg yolks for making it thicker. And I mean, it's also lending a lot of sweetness.
Milk drinker.
I'm almost convinced that you could cut the amount of brown sugar in half and it would still be really good, but maybe not quite so sweet. But yeah, it's still really good.
Milk drinker.
But I guess to each their own. That's fantastic. And if you're in a pinch and you want something quick and perhaps a little lore friendly, great option. Maybe we'll have some on stream, who knows?
Is this eggnog?
It's Elder Scrolls Sweet Nog.
Okay. It is significantly sweeter than eggnog, and less eggy than eggnog. I mean, it is still thick, but not as thick, maybe? Or it's just thick in a different way. It is very sweet. Oh my gosh. I think the sweetness and the alcohol chew would just make my tummy hurt if I took a whole glass of this.
As much as I enjoy this drink, the Sweet Nog highlights a little bit of a lore discrepancy with the Nords. In my Spiced Wines of Skyrim video from February, I noted the oddity of the Nords using the term milk drinker as a derogatory term for people they don't like, or at least perceive as weak, yet seem to have no qualms with sipping a candy-sweet little drink in the Snowberry Cordial. This drink is even more egregious in that it's just as, if not even more sweet, and uses both whole milk and sweetened condensed milk in the recipe. Perhaps the Nords have a little bit of self-loathing and suppression going on. They hate their sweet tooths, but can't stop sucking down
Sweet little milky drinks.
so they drink it in secret, which would also explain the drink's absence from the game itself. And then they lash out at everyone else, so no one knows that deep down, they really want to be milk drinkers too.
I have shown the people that when our Jarls drink the Empire's milk, it makes us weak.
Hello, friend.
What's a milk drinker like you doing out here? Go home to your mother.
What do you want, milk drinker?
What's the matter with you?
Another milk drinker crying about his...
Milk drinkers in this town wouldn't last 5 minutes in a real battle.
I say let that little milk drinker out, my guy. Don't be ashamed of it. Autumn also made the fair point that perhaps the Nords simply use the term milk drinker synonymously with babies, but still consume it on occasion in recipes such as this one. Honestly, the Sweet Nog is a decent recipe, if perhaps a little sweet for my taste. Anyways, now that we've sampled the Sweet Nog, and speaking of milk drinkers, let's chat about the warm spiced milk from the Khajiit. As with the Skooma video from earlier this year, let's hear from one of the only Alfiq Khajiit in Skyrim. But this time, let's hear from Kyne's brother Orome, even if he is named after a god of the hunt from an entirely different fictional series. The spell from that video is actually still good, so as long as you've hit the subscribe button and liked the video, he'll also perceive you as one of his own and be okay speaking in front of you. Orome, take it away.
This one thanks you. Most Khajiit have taken to making this recipe with moon sugar in place of honey, and some even add a splash of skooma. While it's not recommended for non-Khajiit races, it certainly works wonders as a nightcap for them. For everyone else, it's still a warming drink first thing in the morning or right before bed. Go on. Nobody needs to know you're a milk drinker. You will need 2 cups whole milk, a dash of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of Nord spices, plus more for garnish, 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey, and whipped cream for topping. Optional. Combine the milk, vanilla, and Nord spices in a small pot over medium heat. Heat the milk until it is steaming but just shy of bubbling. then stir in honey to taste. Pour into a heat-proof mug and top with whipped cream and a pinch of Nord spices to garnish.
Good job, buddy. Good job. And here it is, the warm spiced milk recipe courtesy of the Khajiit caravans. My Khajiiti counterpart is no longer in the room, but we can enjoy it without him. So let's have a taste, shall we? That smells like home. It's very honey forward on the nose. The spices just dusted on the top are bringing a little bit of that cardamom to the party. Let's see how it is.
Milk drinker.
That's really good. The amount of honey we ended up using at roughly a tablespoon and a half was, I think, the right call. I think it's right in that sweet spot. It's not too sweet, but it's still got that honey presence. I really dig it. That's delicious.
Milk drinker.
The vanilla extract is bringing a little bit more depth to the party as well, but the combination of spices from the Nord spices is really good. That's a fantastic combo.
Oh, yummy. That's yummy. It's not as sweet as like hot chocolate or chai, I guess. It is like a little savory, spicy milk.
It's warm spiced milk with honey.
Oh, yeah, okay. I like it.
You know, it's kind of funny, but this is actually a semi-familiar flavor to me. When I was a kid, my mom would occasionally make a similar beverage, but with just cinnamon in place of the Nord spices and no whipped cream, but a lot more honey. It's kind of in a familiar wheelhouse for me. I really like that. On the Elder Scrolls Cookbook recipe, though, I think that I actually find the unique combination of spices that the Nords have to be a more interesting and complex version of the beverage. That mace in particular is bringing just a little bit of bite. And then the grains of paradise are actually lending a nice, almost fruity overtone to it. So that's really good. Speaking of fruity, I do want to try it with a splash of skooma. Although, considering I'm not a Khajiit, I'll stick to our watered down Skyrim version featured in the Skooma video. It's notably a bartender's copy of the flavors of skooma, so it's certified hallucinogen free and safe to consume for us non-cat folk.
One of the guards said he saw a mage appear at the thin air. Claimed it was one of those Psijic monks. Man's been hitting the skooma, I say.
Oh, that's nice. The sweetness of the skooma ends up bridging the gap of sweetness, so it takes it to a much sweeter place. But the apricot characteristic is also really fantastic. Full disclosure, you can see it here, but I haven't strained the apricots out of the skooma yet, so I guess you can do the math as to when I'm filming this video. But I do want to see how it is with a little whipped cream on it now. I also think this will add a little bit of that sweetness. And just a sprinkling / dusting of the Nord spices.
You make one move towards my skooma and I shit you.
Altogether, this works very beautifully. That is a nice, cozy little treat right there.
Milk drinker.
And I thought that the apricot might be a little bit odd, but it's not actually, translating in an overly fruity way. It's very caramelized, so I think that it's working out very nicely. Sorry, I'm sure I have whipped cream in my mustache here.
Where'd you go? Come back here. Where are you? Oh, you're back.
To continue our discussion of the Nord's disdain for milk drinkers, perhaps a Nord once witnessed one of the caravan members sipping one of these delicious concoctions and decided to insult them for it, too ashamed to admit their own desire to have a glass as well. They are generally looking for any reason to dislike the catfolk, as no Khajiit are permitted within any of the cities in Skyrim, save for the player character if that was your chosen race.
The Dragonborn is an exception to all the rules.
They're missing out though, this is delicious. Finally, let's move on to Talviel's Moon Sugar Eggnog. In the next video, that is. Hopefully I can get it out by the 25th for the New Life Festival known as Saturalia, but if not, by my birthday, the 30th of Evening Star. Subscribe and stay tuned. It's good. I should know. I was just there. But you'll have to wait just a bit. As always, shout out to my patrons and members like I Knew That Was a Dog. Consider joining if you enjoyed this, and tap the videos on the screen for more. If you're watching this in the future, the Eggnog video will be here on the right, although me saying that might tick off the Psijic monks again.
Know that you have set in motion a chain of events that cannot be stopped. Judgment has not been passed, as you had no way of knowing. Judgment will be passed on your actions to come, and how you deal with the dangers ahead of you.